call to order this meeting of the Gary Sanitary District, this Board of Commissioners regular meeting for Monday, June 17th, 2019. Before we start the meeting, I would ask that if anyone has a cell phone, that you turn it to vibrate, silent, or turn it off, as to not disrupt the meeting. And if you do get a call during the meeting, we ask that you step into the hallway to take that call, again, as to not disrupt the meeting. First, we start our meetings with the Pledge of Allegiance. Will you join me? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next on our agenda is roll call. Ms. Lee.
Commissioner Tremel Rags.
Present.
Commissioner Maurice Mabon.
Present.
Commissioner Olaf Morris.
Present.
Commissioner Charles Jackson. Attorney Jewel Harris Jr.
Present.
Executive Director Daniel Vicari.
Present.
Director of Administration Vern White.
Present.
And we also have Mayor Freeman Wilson.
Good morning, everyone.
And that's the end of roll call.
Thank you. With 4 commissioners, we do have a quorum to do business. Next on the agenda is certification. I, Tremel Rags, certify that prior to this meeting, there was an executive session held, and there was nothing that was discussed during that executive session other than what was indicated on the executive session notice posted in compliance with Indiana Code 5-14-1.5. And there were also no final decisions made during that executive session, also in compliance with that same statute. If there is any commissioner that dissents that certification, they may do so now. Hearing none, we will move along our agenda. At this time, we're actually going to call a little bit of a change to the agenda instead of going directly into the minutes, because this is the first day for the intern class here at the Gary Sanitary District for 2019. As you can see, we obviously have a packed house with all of the interns here. And at this time, I'd like all the interns to stand and be recognized. All right, well, we hope you young folks definitely enjoy your internship here at the Gary Sanitary District. There's a lot to learn. You guys have a great opportunity here. The Sanitary District does a lot of good work for the city, and you guys get to find out about some of those inner workings of the Gary Sanitary District. During your time here over the course of this summer, we will all do our best to assist you with whatever it is that you need. And if at any time you need something, feel free to stop and ask, because that's what we're here for. Thank you. And yeah, with that, you guys are now dismissed. Let's get to work. Next on our agenda, well, actually, we're still staying off of the agenda right now, because next we are going to have a recognition, Gary Sanitary District service recognition for employees that have been with us for a substantial amount of time, and we want to recognize your service and let you know how much we do appreciate you. We have 21 employees here in all who have been with us for quite some time. And we will ask, when your name is called, we're going to call you up in 3 groups, basically, in service of 20 years to 24 years, 25 years to 29 years, and then those with 30 or more years worth of service. When your name is called, we're going to ask that you step forward. And Madam Mayor, we also are going to ask that you come on up. You'll receive a plaque and take a photo. Vern, can you also assist us with that, please? We'll give them just a moment to get situated.
to call the names?
Yeah. Okay, I'll do that. All right. First with that group of employees with, well, we'll start with 20 to 24 years. Calvin Andrews. Kola Owasika. I've never had to say your last name before, Kola.
Don't ask him to do it.
You got it.
Tamara Clark.
Tamara's not here today, but Tamara has 25 years with the district.
Okay. Guadalupe Guerrero. Kendra Jones. Valerie Ray.
Valerie is not here today. Valerie has 24 years with the Gary Sanitary District.
Vanessa Ryan. And I probably should have taken that hint from Vern. Calvin has 23 years of service. Tamara, as she said, has 24 years of service. Guadalupe, 22 years of service. Kendra, 21 years of service. Valerie, 24 years of service. And Vanessa Ryan with 23 years of service.
Vanessa Ryan is with our customer service employment. So the employees that don't have plaques, they were presented their plaques a while back, but we wanted to acknowledge them.
Dan?
I always wreck a picture of him.
6'8". 6'8".
You missed this one. All right, congratulations. Dan.
Stay over there. We got more. All right. This next group has 25 to 29 years of service. And first will be Juanita Alanis. Kevin Brown with 27 years of service. Ursula Evans Suggs with 25 years of service. Arthur Gates with 25 years of service. Maurice Joyner with 26 years of service. Willette Lee with 25 years of service. Luis Perez Jr. with 28 years of service. Bernard Robinson with 27 years of service. Sam Seltz with 26 years of service. And Bob Theodoro with 28 years of service. And lastly, Daphne Walton Lenoir with 25 years of service.
What it was 25 at the time. I already done it. Oh, the others, okay, got it.
Slide that card off the way for the picture.
All right, you guys got to huddle up.
There you go.
That's 2 shots. In case you blink.
Is this going to be in the newsletter? It's going to be a newsletter? Yeah.
And our final group here are those employees with 30-plus years of service.
Will I
We have James Harris with 39 years of service. We have Eugene Jackson with 30 years of service. And we have Hector Medina with 39 years of service.
Mayor?
Just three.
Just 3 of us. Oh. Thank you. Very nice.
All right, you guys. I can do it closer. I can go a little closer with you. One more time. Okay, thank you.
All right. Good job.
So what do we do next?
Well, we are certainly honored to have employees with us for such distinguished timelines. You know, it shows the commitment of people to the Gary Sanitary District. It shows that commitment to get up and come somewhere and do an outstanding job for a number of years, 20, 25, 28, 30, 39, right? That is absolutely outstanding, and we definitely wanted to recognize you and your service. I would be remiss if I didn't allow the mayor to say anything at this time. I hate to put her on the spot if I did, but I would be absolutely remiss to not allow her the opportunity.
Well, good afternoon, or good morning, it's still morning, to the board and the members of the staff, and especially our honorees today. I can't tell you how humbling it is to be able to honor individuals who have dedicated their lives to this community, to this sanitary district, and to the work that you do. We are honored that you have chosen for a variety of number of years, from 21 all the way up to 39, to spend your time here. And as we were preparing for this, Dan commented that you represent some of his go-to people, not just because of your longevity, but because of your commitment. And so we appreciate the fact that you are here. We appreciate that you do what you do on a daily basis. And the least that we could do is to acknowledge your service. And I look forward to having you all here, or seeing you here, for 20 more. So thank you. Thank you, and we appreciate everything that you do.
We'll talk. Well, seeing as how you guys are the brain trust, I guess I should probably let you guys get back to work before the plant falls apart. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I wish we had like a 10-minute gift card. We could have given
Well,
I'm not gonna scratch that.
39 years. Those are nice.
30-something years.
Now we got the enemy before us.
That's no line. It's on the line. That's like 39 years. Started in 4. Like,
What do you say?
He's only 4 years old.
I was just born when something's considered.
That's a long time.
Long time.
it's not in the bucket.
All right, now on to our regular scheduled meeting, I guess I should say. First, in regard to the minutes going along our agenda, what's the pleasure of the board regarding the minutes?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve the minutes of the executive session and regular meeting for June 3rd, 2019.
We'll second that, Mr. Chair.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, Ms. Lee.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Morris,
Yes.
Commissioner Maybon,
Yes.
Commissioner Rags.
Yes.
The vote is 4 ayes, 0 noes.
With 4 ayes and 0 noes, the minutes have been approved. Moving along our agenda, next we come to new business, and for new business, I will turn it over to the Executive Director, Mr. Daniel Vakari.
Thank you, Commissioner. For item 2A, I would like to ask Vern White to provide the overview of payroll.
Thank you, Director. Item 2A, a motion to approve GSD payroll earnings for period ending May 13, 2019 through May 26, 2019, in the amount of $238,771.46. I recommend approval as stated in the motion.
It has been, or you've heard the overview and recommendation regarding 2A. What is the pleasure of the board?
So move for approval as stated in the motion.
We'll second, Mr. Chair.
All right, it's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, Ms. Lee.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Morris,
Yes.
Commissioner Maybon,
Yes.
Commissioner Rags.
Yes.
The vote is 4 ayes, 0 noes.
With 4 ayes and 0 noes, 2A has been approved.
Item 2B is a motion to approve and ratify an award of bid to Gary Up Construction for an emergency sanitary sewer repair at the vicinity of 4208 Adams Street in a not-to-exceed amount of $37,400. This was not only a collapse of the sewer that was impeding flow, requiring the sanitary district to go regularly vac the sewer to make sure that we didn't have basement backups into the nearby homes. It also was a pedestrian and vehicle hazard as a very large cave-in had occurred. We, on an emergency basis, solicited quotes from 5 contractors. We had 4 respond. The bids range from as high as $65,000 to as low as our recommended contractor, Garrett Construction, of $37,400. We're asking the board to ratify this because we did need to move on it immediately last week. So I'm asking the board to please approve and ratify this recommendation.
You've heard the overview and recommendation with regard to 2B. What is the pleasure of the board?
So I'd like to make a motion for approval of application of item 2B, Mr. Chairman.
Second that, Mr. Chair.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion?
Where are we now on this particular project?
When I spoke to staff last week, they had begun the excavation. Eric, do you have the latest update as this morning?
I believe they were on site the following day, so I'll have to contact Nicola exactly as to very quickly they're not.
It should be repaired, and I will come prepared in the future for that information.
Any other discussion? Roll call, Ms. Lee.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Morris,
Yes.
Commissioner Maybon,
Yes.
Commissioner Rags.
Yes.
The vote is 4 ayes, 0 noes.
With 4 ayes and 0 noes, 2B has been approved and ratified.
Item 2C is a motion to approve and award a bid to Evoqua Water Technologies for the sole source purchase of long flights and associated parts for primary tank number 9 in a not-to-exceed amount of $89,741.00. This, in a nutshell, is what we call the chains and flights for primary sewage treatment. So the square primary tanks have literally long chains and associated flights that connect to, from chain to chain on either side of the tank. Their purpose is to do two things. One, remove scum that floats to the top of the tank without being too graphic, and detritus that sinks to the bottom of the tank. And they will rake both at the surface and at the bottom of the tank, removing any solids and scum. The parts that are there now, the chains and flights, are nearly 20 years old, and it is a recommendation to staff that we replace it because it has gotten to the point of a loss of return on continuing to try to repair individual segments when they break. So we're asking the board to approve this sole source purchase. Evoqua, there's a letter in here that indicates that they are the sole source provider for that part in our geography. And we are asking, we currently have 3 primary settling tanks, so it's not an emergency. We've gone through our due diligence and gotten the pricing. We still have 2 tanks online, but we'd like to get that 3rd tank online as soon as possible. So I recommend approval of item 2C.
You've heard the overview and recommendation with regard to 2C. What is the pleasure of the board?
So move for acceptance, Mr. Chair.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, Ms. Lee.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Morris,
Yes.
Commissioner Maybon,
Yes.
Commissioner Rags.
Yes.
The vote is 4 ayes, 0 noes.
With 4 ayes and 0 noes, 2C has been approved.
Item 2D is a motion to approve amendment number 2 for a time extension only to the collective bargaining agreement between the Gary Sanitary District and AFSCME Local 3491. This will provide us a deadline of August 1st, 2019 to enter into a new annual agreement with AFSCME. Attorney Harris, do you have any additional detail?
No, we've got meetings scheduled, negotiation meetings scheduled over the course of the next 30 days. I don't anticipate this to take very long for us to come to an agreement. We've had a preliminary meeting already to negotiate the terms of the new collective bargaining agreement. Our last agreement was just 2 years ago, so with it being so recent, there aren't that many modifications that are necessary for this next agreement. But this agreement, the extension to this agreement, if approved, will take us through August 1st, which is plenty of time to get this wrapped up. So I'd recommend approval.
You've heard the overview and recommendation with regard to 2D. What is the pleasure of the board?
So move, Mr. Chair, for acceptance.
Second, Mr. Chair.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, Ms. Lee.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Morris,
Yes.
Commissioner Maybon,
Yes.
Commissioner Rags.
Yes.
The vote is 4 ayes, 0 noes.
With 4 ayes and 0 noes, 2D has been approved.
Thank you. Item 2E is a motion to approve an agreement between the Gary Sanitary District and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers for the design and construction assistance for the Section 219 Gary Sanitary District Horace Mann Pipelining Project. We have entered into Section 219 grant agreements with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers in the past. We are proposing, recommending to the board to enter into this agreement for an additional sewer rehabilitation work that we have completed the engineering for in the Horace Mann neighborhood. It is roughly $2.5 million in construction, of which we will be responsible for 25% as the local sponsor on the project. I recommend approval of item 2E.
You've heard the overview and recommendation with regard to 2E. What is the pleasure of the board?
So move for approval, Mr. Chair.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, Ms. Lee.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Morris,
Yes.
Commissioner Maybon,
Yes.
Commissioner Rags.
Yes.
The vote is 4 ayes, 0 noes.
With 4 ayes and 0 noes, 2E has been approved.
Item 2F is a motion to approve an award of bid to Reith Riley Construction Company for GSD project number SD 18-06 for the rehabilitation of parking lots and asphalt pavement at the Gary Sanitary District wastewater treatment plant, Phase 2, in a not-to-exceed amount of $465,821.59. Robinson Engineering, our engineer of record for the design and procurement assistance with respect to this project 18-06, is recommending the lowest responsive bidder of Riley Construction. We had gotta be prepared for this. We had 4 bidders that we opened up here at the sanitary district, and Ruth Riley is the lowest responsive bidder. This includes rehabilitation of pavement in the west and east parking lots, employee and guest parking lots that we have here at the district, as well as the larger parking lot that we have for the majority of our sewer maintenance department that's further east in front of what we call our pole barn. It also includes selective curb and sidewalk replacement throughout the plant where concrete sidewalks and curbs have been damaged or cracked over the years. We also have additional parking that we're creating in front of the old Headworks building. That is where we frequently have guests, whether it be vendors, engineers, or otherwise, that need to park, and we always have to ask them to park in our employee lot and walk a few hundred feet or more to get to where they're going. In this case, it'll provide for additional angled parking in front of the Headworks building, and currently it's parallel parking. We also have frequent semi-truck drivers providing deliveries here at the district, and it'll eliminate staff requirements or needs because of lack of parking to park parallel with the roadway in front of the Headworks building, so it's a safety improvement as well. I'm recommending approval of item 2F.
You've heard the overview and recommendation with regard to 2F. What is the pleasure of the board?
So move for approval of item 2F, Mr. Chair.
Second, Mr. Chair.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion?
What is Robinson's position? You said he'd be engineering, overseeing the project, or what?
Yeah, that'll, I can do part of that overview, but that speaks to item 2G as well, Commissioner Jackson. But Robinson Engineering provided the plans and specifications as the engineer of record for the project.
Do we have a fee on that already?
Yeah, the board has already approved that agreement with Robinson.
So is that an itemized list of certain things that he's going to get?
Well, the things that they have done already as far as the design, and then item 2G will be asking the board to consider approval of another task order that will provide services from Robinson for the construction inspection services.
So that's already listed how much he'll be getting?
Yeah, that'll be
per hour, et cetera.
Yeah, and item 2G, I believe they've done that based on a, so their master services agreement has billable rates based on job classification, whether you're a junior engineer or construction engineer or senior engineer, for example. And in that master services agreement, there's task orders. So in this task order for item 2G, which is the next item of new business, Robinson's estimated fee is in their proposal, and that fee will be based on those job classification billing rates in the master services agreement. And pardon me, but Mr. Ron Smith with Robinson Engineering is here today to answer any additional questions that you may have about the recommendation of award.
Anything you'd like to share with us?
Good morning. We actually had rebid this project out to get some better prices and also to bid it now in the springtime. Also, in an effort to attract more local businesses, we had broke this bid package down in 6 different packages, so that way it provided an opportunity for some of the smaller local contractors to bid on this project. So those are kind of the I guess, innovative things that we did to try to reach out to a lot of the local businesses to, get more attraction into, as far as the procurement, to try to get some of the local vendors who are qualified to do this work. So,
how are you doing with local vendors? How are you doing with local vendors?
well, with the assistance of Tammy Davis, holding the pre-bid meetings and then following up with the local contractors, we're getting there. So we're doing our best to try to get them on board and get them to bid on some of the projects we have here.
Okay, I won't ask you anything else. Thanks for reaching out. Appreciate
Thank you.
that. And, hopefully things will go okay. Thank you, sir. That's all I have.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call, Ms. Lee.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Morris,
Yes.
Commissioner Maybon,
Yes.
Commissioner Rags.
Yes.
The vote is 4 ayes, 0 noes.
With 4 ayes and 0 noes, 2F has been approved.
Thank you, Commissioners. Item 2G is a motion to approve task order number 13 to the master services agreement between the Gary Sanitary District and Robinson Engineering LTD for construction engineering services for the rehabilitation of parking lots and asphalt pavement project at the Gary Sanitary District wastewater treatment plant, Phase 2, which is GSD project number SD 18-06. I mentioned a bit about this at the last agenda item, but Robinson Engineering, as engineer of record, has provided the attached proposal in your package to provide for the construction engineering services. So they will be here full-time during the construction, which we estimate to be 6 weeks to complete. They will provide all the construction layout, making sure that when the project is complete, for example, that stormwater drainage drains properly from the parking lots and streets. They're going to maintain a daily record of construction activities, prepare any recommendations for acceptance of the shop drawings and supplier literature. And then when the project's all done, right now in the engineering drawings is the engineer's best estimates, for example, the tonnage of asphalt and the yardage of concrete, but we actually will pay actuals. So whatever's laid is going to be based on measurements. So Robinson will be out there verifying how much was actually placed, and then we will pay based on the unit costs that are in the bids. So the award today is for an amount really not to exceed $465,821.59, but it could be less, could be more, hopefully not more. Typically it's less. If I know most engineering firms, they are very conservative with the estimates. So here's my recommendation to approve item 2G.
You've heard the overview and recommendation with regard to 2G. What is the pleasure of the board?
So moved for approval, Mr. Chair.
No second, Mr. Chair.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion?
What's the average thickness of the asphalt will be laid?
I'm going to let Ron come up to the mic and speak to that.
Good morning again, Ron Smith with Robinson Engineering. Depending on what section that we're milling and overlaying, the thickness of the asphalt varies. We did a soil borne report, so we got the existing thickness from the cores, working with Eric Tonk, and then also with COLA. We made a recommendation of how that thickness would be per the reports, and then also the nature of the traffic, whether it'll be just cars on there or whether you'll have trucks on there. Some instances, I think we have a cross-section of 1.5 inches of surface and 3 inches of intermediate binder, and in some areas, we have cross-sections of 1.5 and 2 inches, depending on, again, the type of traffic that is on that section of roadway.
Will those thickness be recorded?
Yes, they will. That's why we have staff out here, so we will be measuring the thickness to make sure that if the proposed cross-section says it's 3.5 inches of intermediate, then we make sure that 3 inches is laid down there on the project.
Any other discussion?
No.
Hearing none. Roll call, Ms. Lee.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Morris,
Yes.
Commissioner Maybon,
Yes.
Commissioner Rags.
Yes.
The vote is 4 ayes, 0 noes.
With 4 ayes and 0 noes, 2G has been approved.
That is all for new business today.
And moving along our agenda, next we come to claims. And for claims, I'll turn it over to the Director of Administration, Ms. Vern White.
Chair, item 3A, GSD claims numbers 2,260 through 2,478 in the amount of $1,522,620.08. I recommend approval and ratification of today's GSD claims.
You've heard the overview and recommendation with regard to approval and ratification of the claims. What is the pleasure of the board?
So moved for approval and ratification of item 3A.
Second,
Chair.
Mr.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, Ms. Lee.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Morris,
Yes.
Commissioner Maybon,
Yes.
Commissioner Redd?
Yes.
The vote is 4 ayes, 0 noes.
With 4 ayes and 0 noes, the claims have been approved.
That completes today's claims items for GSD.
All right, moving along our agenda, next we come to information updates. And our first information update will be from our plant superintendent, Ms. Rhonda Anderson.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Every year, Michigan City has a conference on environment, and two of our employees, Michelle Gray, David Moore-Stevens, attended this conference on June the 7th. Our agreement for disinfection chemicals expire in July. Wilson Industrial Sales, who is our sodium hypochlorite vendor, agreed to keep the price the same as last year, so we're going to renew our agreement with them. Unfortunately, Univar, who is our sodium hypochlorite vendor, was unable to maintain the 2017 price, which we renewed last year. And so we are accepting bids for sodium hypochlorite. We advertised on June the 14th. We will again on the 21st, and I've sent bid documents so far to 6 vendors: Rao Chemical, Alexander Chemical, PVS, Univar, Wilson, and JCI, and also to anyone who requests those documents. And I did notice before the meeting, I did have some emails requesting documents, so I will send out more this afternoon. We've used very little ferrous chloride since we've switched to biological phosphorus removal in the past 12 months. So we are using it only as needed, and our expenses for that has decreased significantly. But we do have an agreement in place with Camara Chemical just in case we have a need to purchase ferrous chloride. The aeration improvement project is moving along. We have received 100% drawings and specifications. First and second public advertisements were on June the 7th and June the 14th respectively. And today we have a pre-bid meeting at 2 o'clock. And the bids will be due on July the 9th. So we are moving along with that project. The filter building paint removal is in progress. And to enable operators to continue to monitor and control filter operations safely during the removal of the lead paint, a remote monitor was temporarily installed in the filter operations center in the old admin building for the duration of this project. After it's complete, the monitor will be used in the filter building. Right now, sometimes the operators have to go upstairs and downstairs to do certain things because of one monitor, so there will be another monitor on the lower level to make it easier for them to operate the filter building. So we'll reuse that monitor once the paint removal is done. And we had divers remove a pretty significant obstruction of the flow from the secondary clarifiers to the filter building. Once the filters were put in service, they removed the Wiseman screen. But we noticed a bottleneck in high rain events, and so they removed the frame, and it was a bigger obstruction than we thought. And so now we are confident that we are going to get a lot more flow through the filter building. We had a safety committee meeting on June the 7th to discuss the last safety inspection, what went well, things that we need to improve on, and how we can build on what we have in place already. And that's all I have, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions from the board? Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Our next information update will come in reference to construction activities from Mr. Eric Tonk.
Good morning, Board. Here to provide a quick update on current construction projects going on. The first project I have is the stripping of the paint in the filter building. As Ms. Anderson stated, that project is underway. They're currently in the easternmost stairwell. Once they get done with that stairwell, they're moved to the western stairwell. This is to make sure operators always have access to the second floor. And from there, they'll be moving up to the second floor in the gallery and the pump room. The gas sphere interior project, interior coating and exterior painting is also underway. They're actually inside of the gas sphere right now, coating, stripping and coating the interior of it. They also power washed the exterior for now, so it looks a little cleaner, but they will strip that paint and get a new coat of paint on that. The 29th and Cherry Street project, the last part of that work is some earthwork and the surface course of the asphalts. With all this rain, I'm sure they're probably a little delayed. Hopefully that project get completed here real quickly. The Clark Road Improvements Project, I believe all the concrete work has been completed, so only the paving needs to get restored now, along with some landscaping for the detention area north of the railroad tracks. The 4th and Bigger Street project, again, this is just road striping. I don't know if the wet weather has caused any delays, but this project should be coming to a close. And the last project I have is the Ambridge Neighborhood Sewer Replacement and Repair Project. They just completed another sewer replacement. There's one more to do between Van Buren and Jackson Streets, but after that, they will be moving on to grouting and slip lining the sewers in that area. And this project is still on schedule for completion of November 6th. And I will be adding a couple more projects, it sounds like, to this list.
Any questions for Mr. Tonk from the board?
I see Mr. Tonk's pretty well stretched out, right?
Getting there. I got some room, though.
Yes, sir. Good to hear.
I do yoga. I'm quite flexible.
Now, on the spear, you said they're coating, cleaning the outer portion of the spear?
Yeah, they just power wash it for now, but they will strip the paint and put a new coat of paint on.
What type of coating would be used?
On the interior?
On the exterior?
Oh, it's Sherman-Williams.
Well, both, either.
Yeah, the interior is more of a tar base. It's more for protecting of the gas sphere from the methane gas. And the outside is just standard Sherman-Williams paint that was specified.
Director?
I don't want to correct Eric, but I mean, I wouldn't call it standard. It's a specialized paint that is an anti-corrosion paint that can sustain, or withstand rather, that corrosive environment. There's very corrosive gases that run through there, which is why we're painting it, right? Is the need for, because it's rusted on the interior. We're not really painting that. We're all going to see this nice new painted exterior, but the real reason to do this is on the interior so that we don't lose the integrity of that tank.
Design work you're going to do on the outside, plan on?
So that is to add on to that. Right now, the contractor is just going to paint it white, and when the artist that's doing the mural, as you enter and leave the plant, they're going to provide some ideas to the board that we're going to present and take it from there. We don't want to rush that. What was on there, I think it just says, "People of Gary welcome you." It's set on the ball, and we have some different ideas we're going to bring to the board and the public to vet.
Sounds good.
But I would thank Eric, too, because this has been challenging to find a contractor that is willing to enter that tank. There are companies, for example, the water utilities throughout the Midwest frequently clean and paint the interior and exterior of elevated water tanks. It's a different environment because there's not the corrosive and toxic gases that run through those water tanks. In this case, our digester gas is poisonous. You can't just enter that tank without purging it. You have to purge it with a nitrogen gas first and then be willing to physically put people inside there. I believe they're in a full breathing apparatuses.
It's just being ventilated, but they're in protective gear.
Right, so it's not a nice work environment, and not a lot of companies are willing or frankly capable of doing that type of work. We bid this 2 years ago, and it was a failed bid. We bid it again last year, and we had a single bidder that we reluctantly but recommended to the board that we enter into an agreement. once they were awarded the contract and then they backed out. So this is the third attempt to get this painted, and we actually have the people out there doing it. So I want to thank Eric for being diligent in making sure this happens.
Thank you, Eric.
Yep, you're welcome. And I just received a text from our engineering department, the cave-in at 4208 Adams is about halfway done. They're out there today, and they should be completing it by tomorrow.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Anything else from the board? Thank you, Mr. Tong.
Thank you.
Our next information update will be in reference to compliance. That will come from Ms. Tammy Davis.
Good morning, almost afternoon. Before you is the Compliance Monthly Report, and what I want to first draw your attention to are the 3 spreadsheets that we are currently producing to report on our construction projects activity. The first report presents the percentages worked by each contractor by project. So the first one is on the 4th and Bigger Street, and then the second one is on the Buffington Harbor project. And so without going into the detail of each one, what you will see is that we're tracking the percentages by general, by trade. So you'll see the general contractor noted first, and then each subsequent subcontractor, all tiers, all levels, how they meet their compliance goals. So we reflect the total number of workers, and then we identify the number of Gary workers versus the number of non-Gary workers, and the percentages that represent each. And so currently, we have payrolls for those 2 projects, and then we receive from the Clark project. Notices of non-compliance has been sent to each of the general contractors. Additionally, the subcontractors have been notified of their non-compliance and information that is missing. So as you can see, we conduct a very thorough analysis of each of our projects. The second sheet that you have in front of you represents head count. So we track not only the hours that are worked, but we also represent the total number of individuals that are working on the projects as well. So the second spreadsheet that you have represents the number of workers in general, and then we break down the number of Gary workers. And so you will see that per project, per contractor, all tiers represented on that project as well. Lastly, in the legal size sheet, and I apologize that it is hard to read, but that's what we got to work with. So in the legal size document, what you will see before you is where we actually extrapolate from the certified payrolls the Gary residents that are actually working on the project. And so we note the addresses. To one, we do validate that that actually is an actual address. So we research it on Google Maps to ensure that that actually is a residential address. How we then utilize this information is when we conduct job site visits to validate that these individuals are or have been working on site. So these are the 3 types of reports currently that we produce to represent compliance on our projects that we are currently working on. Any questions on those particular spreadsheets before I just kind of in general tell you of some of our work?
I noticed a couple of these, I'm sorry, as commissioners, I know. May I speak? Sure. Okay, I'm sorry. There's a couple here that looks like they may be in unincorporated Calumet Township, which they do have a Gary zip code, but how do you count them?
Well, Gary is Gary. Okay. So if it's not Gary, Indiana, they're separated just like everyone else. Okay. All right, so secondly, you see just an example of our e-newsletter, the pipeline. You'll see how we notified everyone in our database, and currently that's about 850 email addresses that we distribute this e-newsletter to. Currently, we're running about 200 to 250 individuals that actually open up the email. And so, as you can see, we publicized the aeration improvement project to ensure that all businesses were made aware of the project. And I just want to thank Anthony Giovanoni for just being great to work with CDM Smith and making sure that we got the right information to send things out. Secondly, what you will see in front of you are two outreach events that we are participating in and supporting. The one is a business resource fair meet and greet hosted by the Gary Chamber of Commerce. NIPSCO, Indiana American Water Company, GSD, has been very intentional in working together to ensure that we're doing our part as utilities to support small, local, minority, and women-owned businesses. So you'll see that all three utilities are supporting this particular event, and it's probably the first time that all three have joined together to support a particular outreach event for local, small, and minority businesses. And that event is taking place on June 20th at the Art House Social Kitchen, located on 5th Avenue from 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Next, the Indiana Division of Supplier Diversity is holding their annual Northwest Indiana Business Conference. In the past, they have actually hosted this event at Majestic Star, but they are now moving the event around Northwest Indiana. And this year, the conference is going to take place at Hobart's Public Library in Hobart, Indiana on June 27th from 12 to 5. I will be a panelist along with others to speak about how to do business with local, state, and federal government. And I will be particularly emphasizing on how to do work with utility companies. Lastly, and it is second to last, you have a publication. It's called the Indiana Language Roadmap. I always like to make sure that you are aware of the results of some of the community activities, organizations that we are members of, that we support. And so the Indiana Language Roadmap project was funded by the U.S. Department of Defense. The state of Indiana, via Indiana University, received this grant to identify how to address globalization in the workforce pipeline. And so I was asked to participate in terms of representing the construction industry and increasing and supporting workforce getting into the construction industry pipeline. And then you will see Gary Sanitary District noted and represented through my participation, and you actually have the document itself. And now lastly, we mentioned the Section 219 grants. When we had the contractors roundtable on how to do business with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, one of the things that the small business deputy mentioned is that the Section 219 projects are specifically geared towards the utilization of small businesses. And one of the things that they distributed was a list of upcoming projects for fiscal year 2019. And I just wanted to remind our businesses and contractors that the time is now to get ready, because a lot of these projects are coming online. We mentioned the Horace Mann project, but they have projects with the city of East Chicago that's coming up, the city of Crown Point, and the town of Hobart. So the opportunities don't lie just with the Gary Sanitary District, but with our partners at the Army Corps in general. And as they are coming online, the Army Corps will be sending me those notifications so we then can include them with our outreach publication, The Pipeline. And with that, I am done. And if you have any questions or comments, I'll entertain them at this time.
Any questions from the board for Ms. Davis?
Thank you for the publication that you did, and well put together. But reaching out for Gary residents is pretty hard for you.
The reaching out part is not difficult. The response is what's the challenge. We work with all of our partners to ensure that Gary residents are aware of employment opportunities, trade and non-trade. The challenge has been and continues to be the presence of them in the particular trade unions, but also the availability. We just have to hold our contractors accountable to do their part as being the ultimate employers, because the Gary Sanitary District is not.
Thank you, Ms. Davis.
Thank you, and happy belated Father's Day to each of you that are.
Thank you. We're going to have an additional information update. I'm going to ask that Anthony from CDM Smith come on up. I understand that there is some information to provide to the board relevant to some current GSD program.
Sure. Anthony Giovannoni with CDM Smith. Thank you, board, for letting me speak today. The aeration system improvements project, I'm sure that you're all pretty much aware of that project. We will have our pre-bid meeting today. So we'll go through an instruction to bidders. Not going to read all that right now, but it's a lot of the legal requirements and different requirements for the bidders, so we'll go through that. Then we'll get into some technical information, so we're actually going to go through all the technical elements of the project. Additionally, we'll have Tammy speak about the local business requirements, and then we will go through a little bit more detail on how we actually want them to bid. And so I have a bid form. I'd like to share that with you at some point if you'd like to review it. So that will just detail pretty much exactly how we want them to price this out. It's a little bit tricky because there's a lot of elements to the project, but if you'd like to see that, that will be available for you. And then we'll get into questions and answers, and we'll end with a site visit. I think Eric and Rhonda will be attending as well. Were there any questions specific to the aeration systems improvement project that the board would like to ask about?
George, in one of the meetings that you had, you were having problems ducking some of the ducking work underneath the street.
Yes.
Could you?
Well, if you'd like me to elaborate on that, actually, that's a great point. So, Commissioner Jackson, you actually brought up a really good point a couple meetings ago, and you mentioned how are we going to replace the buried underground piping? And there's a couple things that are really difficult. One, corrosion. That will happen just due to the soil and moisture and things like that. And the other is that there is sometimes truck traffic. And so we want something that's strong and corrosion resistant. So originally we had talked about ductile iron. If you remember, we had talked about ductile iron pipe. But after you brought it up, I was thinking about it a little bit more, and we've actually made the decision to go forward with a bid alternate. So what contractors will be allowed to do is either bid with the base bid is going to be based on ductile iron pipe, but then they'll be able to actually submit an alternate for the buried pipe, and we've got a couple options for them, but mainly it's a stainless steel concrete encased pipe. So, and you had talked about longevity. Ductile iron we would expect to last for 30 to 50 years. Stainless steel concrete encased is probably something that will last forever. That's a 100-year solution. In terms of the cost difference, ductile iron pipe at a really wide diameter, actually the cost goes up quite a bit. So initially we had sort of ruled out the concrete encased stainless steel, but as we've looked at it, those two prices have come closer and closer together, and potentially could actually be a deduct. We're not sure. So at this point, we're going to allow the contractors to provide a cost for both of those, if that answers your question.
It does.
Great.
Appreciate it.
So moving on, the long-term control plan is another project that we're working on. I just want to let you and the public know that we are going to be holding a public meeting at some point in mid-July. This will provide an opportunity for folks to see the technical work that we're doing on the long-term control plan, but we're also going to be presenting on the financial capability of that program, and we've been working with Vern on that quite a bit. So. And that's a very, very key element to that whole project. The last update that I have for you is the grit dewatering project and the headworks. So we had the pleasure of working with Robinson Engineering. I guess Ron's stepped out. We've actually built a complete 3D model of your headworks, which I don't know that that's been done anywhere in this area. I mean, definitely not at GSD, but even just talking to some folks in the area, I don't know that it's been done. So you're sort of pioneers in that effort, at least in Northwest Indiana. And I'm actually going to be presenting on that at the MWIOA meeting on the 27th, is it? Yeah. The 27th. It's the last Thursday of the month. So I'll be presenting on that. Anyone's welcome to attend. We'll be going over the technical elements and then also just like, what does it mean to do virtual design? And that's all I have for you today. So I'm happy to take any questions that you may have.
Any questions from the board?
What time is your pre-board meeting?
It is at 2 o'clock. So we've got some time.
Right here.
You're welcome to attend if you'd like. One thing that I want to add is that the NIPSCO application for the rebate was submitted and is being approved, or it should be approved. We expect it to be approved, but they're looking it over now. So, and the maximum amount for that is $500,000, and we expect to receive that $500,000 for GSD.
Good.
Thank you. Definitely looking forward to those additional rebates in addition to all the potential savings from this aeration project. It's a real big move the needle project for GSV. Next on our agenda is discussion, but before we get into discussion, I'd like to allow the mayor, Karen Freeman Wilson, to give any remarks or make any addresses that she wishes.
Mr. Chair and members of the board, members of the public, thanks again for allowing me to make comments. I just wanted to, one, commend the board and the staff for the work that is being done with the project that is going on with the new liners in the north side. I've learned that these are some of our oldest sewers. Some of those sewers date back to the early 1900s, and as a result of that, we are seeing an inordinate number of cave-ins. And so I know that the staff is working particularly hard to not only respond to the extraordinary rain that we've had, but also to the cave-ins that have come as a result of us rehabbing the sewers. And so there's always some type of byproduct that comes with progress. And so I just want to commend the staff, and I want to also thank the public for their patience. We are just seeing an extraordinary turn of events, but everyone has been patient. They understand that we are, in fact, upgrading, but with those upgrades come a number of challenges. So I just wanted to raise that issue and thank everyone for their work in that regard.
Thank you.
All right, now is the time, if there's any discussion amongst the board, anything a board member wishes to discuss at this time. Hearing none, we'll move along to requests to speak. Ms. Lee, are there any requests to speak?
No, sir.
All right, with no requests to speak, next on our agenda is adjournment. What is the pleasure of the board?
So moved.
Second.
We are adjourned. I call to order this meeting of the Gary Stormwater Management District. This regular meeting for Monday, June 17th, 2019. First on our agenda is roll call.
Director Tramel Rags.
Present.
Director Maurice Maybach.
Present.
Director Ola Morris.
Present.
Director Charles Jackson.
Present.
Attorney Joe Harris Jr.
Present.
Executive Director Daniel Vicari.
Present.
Director of Administration Vern White.
Present.
And that's the end of roll call.
Thank you. With 4 directors here, we do have a quorum to do business. Next on the agenda is certification. I, Tramel Rags, certify that prior to this meeting, there was an executive session held, and there was nothing that was discussed during that executive session except for the items that were indicated on the executive session notice posted in compliance with Indiana Code 5-14-1.5 and there were no final decisions that were made during that executive session, also in compliance with that same statute. If there is any commissioner that dissents this certification, they may do so now. Moving along our agenda, next we come to minutes. What is the board's pleasure regarding the minutes?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve the executive session and regular meeting minutes of June 3rd, 2019.
Second that, Mr. Chair.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, Ms. Lee.
Director Jackson,
Yes.
Director Morris,
Yes.
Director Maybon,
Yes.
Director Rack.
Yes.
The vote is 4 ayes, 0 noes.
With 4 ayes and 0 noes, the minutes have been approved. Moving along our agenda, next we come to new business, and for new business, I'll turn it over to the Executive Director, Dan Vicari.
Thank you. Commissioner, I would like to ask Vern White to present payroll.
Thank you, Director. Item 2A, a motion to approve GSWMD's payroll earnings for period ending May 13, 2019 through May 26, 2019, in the amount of $11,599.78. I recommend approval as stated in the motion.
You heard the overview and recommendation with regard to 2A. What is the pleasure of the board?
So move for approval and recommendation, item 2A.
Second that.
The motion.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion?
I'm sorry.
Hearing none, roll call, Ms. Lee.
Director Jackson,
Yes.
Director Morris,
Yes.
Director Maybon,
Yes.
Director Rack.
Yes.
The vote is 4 ayes, 0 noes.
With 4 ayes and 0 noes, 2A has been approved.
That completes today's stormwater new business items.
Thank you. Next, moving along our agenda, we come to claims, and for claims, I'll turn it back over to the Director of Administration, Ms. Vern White.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item 3A, GSWMD claims numbers 244 through 262 in the amount of $394,896.34. I recommend approval and ratification of today's stormwater claims.
You've heard the overview and recommendation with regard to 3A for approval and ratification. What is the pleasure of the board?
I move for approval and ratification, Mr. Chair.
Second, Mr. Chair.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, Ms. Lee.
Director Jackson,
Yes.
Director Morris,
Yes.
Director Maybon,
Yes.
Director Rags.
Yes.
The vote is 4 ayes, 0 noes.
With 4 ayes and 0 noes, the claims have been approved. Moving along our agenda, next we come to information updates, and our first information update will be from our MS4 coordinator, Ms. Brenda Scott Henry.
Good afternoon, Board of Directors and the staff. I have, first of all, I just want to say announce that we have quite a few things going on, especially with this summer. Starting this weekend or this week, on Thursday through Saturday, we have our Clean Water Celebration. So the Green Infrastructure Workshop, Champions Workshop, will be held on June 20th at 9 a.m. at the Genesis Convention Center. And this is an event in partnership with USGS, who's helped us with the stormwater monitoring at the City Hall rain garden that we have there, as well as Great Lakes Commission, who will host the workshop covering all expenses associated with that. So they're a wonderful partner. We have a workshop that will last until 1 o'clock. So if any of you are available to just step in for a moment and leave, I will really appreciate that. And then on Friday, June 21st, we have a field trip aligned with the Field Museum where we are encouraging local growers and homeowners to join this free trip to the Fields Museum to learn about integrating native landscaping into your home design, as well as those who are growing, vegetables and fruit gardens, how they can use green infrastructure to help further maintain the spaces that they have by managing stormwater on their location. And then we are promoting the Clean Water Festival, which is scheduled for Saturday. This is a day of fun-filled, free learning activities for the family. We have a host of activities that will be going on that day, including canoeing, kayaking, fishing education. We will have the rain barrel art activity this year. We have a lot of residents who are buying the rain barrel kits that we have in our office, but they want the ones that we've had artists to come and paint. So this is an opportunity. We are partnering with the Calumet Resident Artists Residency, so that this is a group of local artists who are affiliated with this nonprofit organization, and they will do some artwork with the community on that particular day. So if you want to learn how to do art on your rain barrel, or if you want to hire someone to do art on your rain barrel, this is an opportunity to come and learn about that activity. National Park Services will be doing our hiking and water quality education activities. We are also having a short bike safety and biking activity at the Clean Water Celebration, and a host of individuals vendors that we have, who will talk about healthy foods, including our Urban Ag program, which we partnered with Purdue and the Legacy Foundation. The farmers markets have kicked off, so there will be a series of farmers markets available, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. They kicked off on June 13th, but they will have a vendor table there. So if you want to learn more about the farmers markets, please come and get that information on Saturday, June 22nd, at Marquette Park, near the lagoons. So we have, in continuing and talking about our urban ag activities, we have the Gary Urban Farmers Initiative. This is a group of individuals that are a part of this SARE grant that we have, and they have a shared toolkit for individuals who are doing gardening activities. This is growing produce, though, not just any activity. But there's a shared toolkit that's available to the public. There's a small deposit that's required. We partnered with Peace Farms and Gardens, that's Pastor Henderson, and if you want more information about how to access the tools in order to start your little small garden, you can please contact my office at 882-3000, and we'll give you the details about starting a garden. I'm excited about the event we had on last Friday, where the senior citizens at the high rise on 6th and Broadway, we did a garden activity with them. So they have 4 raised beds with where they planted flowers and vegetables, and they are planning to plant more vegetables. They will have 2 more raised beds, but we have some really exciting seniors who are wanting to do this activity, and we will help them as they go along. Our extension educator, Tony Van Gorp, is the person. He's also in my office, so if you are having challenges in starting your garden and you need assistance, please contact my office at 882-3000 and we can assist you. We have quite a few green stormwater parks, or stormwater BMPs, that we will be installing with 2 major projects that we have. One being the Buchanan Street Green Gateway. This is located on 2nd and Buchanan Street and 3rd, and it's about 6 acres where we will green this space up using native landscaping, put in signage. It's really near the Green Link Trail, so there's some connectivity from this entry into the city to the trail, and it also will offer some stormwater BMPs like bioswales, butterfly gardens. We will have a self-service bike repair station because it's adjacent to the green link, and then there is a scenic oversight there so that you can look at the Grand Calumet River. And there's also some other features that we will install with this project. We will be going out to bid really soon and working with Public Works Department. Just know that, and the Stormwater Management District is also a partner in this particular grant. And then the final project that we will do is at the Art House. It's called the Art Green Place Oasis. So this is an example of what we have here. The community has decided upon, and we are working on the final designs for this particular project, and I will update you as we proceed with that. I think that's about it. We did have a fruitful meeting last week with the MS4 team. 2 months of activities because we went to the MS4 annual meeting last month, so we didn't get a chance to have the meeting. So that information is in your board package. If you have any other questions, I'll be happy to respond.
Any questions from the board?
I just like to say thank you.
Put the tabs on there?
Put the tabs.
You're welcome.
I've been away from the team almost 3 or 4 years. So as a member back on the team, I thank you for the information.
Oh, you're welcome.
And making sure the tabs are here where I can just go to it and get it when I need it.
It is.
Fishing through the paperwork.
It's growing. The packages are getting thicker, so.
Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome, sir.
When I saw the tabs, I thought, was I supposed to do something that I didn't?
No, that was Mr. Jackson asking us to just kind of sort it out a little bit because the packages are getting thick.
It is, but it's a very good package. It's very informative. With the Clean Water Celebration, what time are they starting the canoeing and kayak for any member of the public who would be interested?
Oh, the time for that event is at 10 o'clock.
Okay.
Until 3 p.m. So we will be out there.
All right.
Yes.
People who are interested.
In attendance. Thank you, because I forgot to say the time on that one.
All right. And I just want to just echo to the public, the Clean Water Celebration, you hear I talk about it every year, and it's a good program every year. Every year I go to it, take my kids to it. They're always impressed with it. I'm happy with it every time I go. Partially because I just get to watch them get super excited about playing in the dirt and whatnot, and learning about the native plants,
they do enjoy
native
that.
animals, and why it's so important to take care of the natural resources that we have here in the area.
Yep.
With the lagoon being right there in Miller and the Great Lakes, we actually have access to some amazing wildlife out here, some amazing natural space. That I think we may take for granted because we see it all the time. But this is a good time that brings that to the forefront. So just want to encourage all the citizens and folks from outside the community to come over and participate in the Clean Water Celebration. It's a great event, absolutely great every year.
And I forgot to mention that I went to a conference representing the city on behalf of the mayor in Sheboygan, and this is a Great Lakes St. Lawrence Cities Initiative, and they have rolled out a series of resolutions that definitely impact what we're doing here in the city of Gary. But one of the things that, one of the major one, addressing phragmites, which we always have a challenge with here, especially in the landfill. And the second one is protecting the Great Lakes from the Asian carp, which are really aggressive. And Chicago, the Chicago River is in jeopardy of having those carps invade their space, which is one of the headwaters for the Great Lakes. So once they get in the Great Lakes, it will change the aquatic habitat there because they prey on everything and they take over. So we are, there's mayors from around the Great Lakes and also in Canada who are working on this resolution.
Right, and just in reference to the Asian carp, it shows just how important and vital this area is. I was actually out with my kids yesterday, and we were over at the shed, and it was a big display about the Asian carp, and you don't understand it until you actually see them.
Right.
They're extremely large fish.
Huge.
And they eat 90% of of everything in the area. They starve the other fish out.
Yep.
And of course, we don't eat a lot of carp because they have small bones and
Right.
taste very good and all that. And it's a real big danger in this area. I'll stop boring the board with tales of me and my kids running around and all the fun stuff we're learning.
Right.
But
And
it is very important.
exactly. So for the public, if you see a carp and you're catching it, do not release it back into the water. Just do not, because they multiply quickly and they are an endangerment to our aquatic habitat.
Definitely.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
All right.
All right, next on our information updates, the American Structure Point, Chris Murphy. Chris, hopefully you have something to say about something fun in nature.
Unfortunately, it's all business. Here we go. Chris Murphy with Structure Point. Good afternoon, directors. Just a brief report today. Most of our efforts are concentrated toward the Lake Street improvements now. We'll have a pre-construction conference with the contractor scheduled for later on this week. I believe it's Friday. John will be able to note the actual day and time on that. As far as the engineering side of that work, once the property that the Mingling restaurant has been cleared, we will survey it so that we can actually design a off-street parking lot at that area with appropriate lighting and some landscape features. And that will follow on sometime later this month and into July, and then there'll be another construction contract letting that will follow to provide for that work. We're also, at the next board meeting, I'll be in a better position to talk about the balance of Lake Street construction from 3rd up to the lakefront and how we plan to move ahead on that. So that sums up the engineering report today. Can I answer any questions on that?
Any questions from the board? Thank you.
I'd like to ask John Tucker to provide a construction report.
Tucker.
Good afternoon, Board. Just a couple quick updates. As Eric mentioned earlier, Ambridge rehabilitation project, the 4th Avenue restoration work is complete. They are finishing up the cleaning and then starting in the heavy grouting. They do have one repair to make still, and then they are going to get into the other restoration work as they've completed some of the work in the alleyways. So that one's ongoing and on schedule, as Eric mentioned. As Chris mentioned, Lake Street, we do have the pre-con for the next phase on Friday. So we'll have a better idea on schedule and everything moving forward for that project after the pre-con. Jerry Street, they did do all the rough grading last week. We are anticipating them coming in for the topsoil and final seeding in the swales for our drainage, and then the surface to follow after that. That's really all the construction happening here right now, finishing up some projects and then getting into our Lake Street project this summer. If there's any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Tucker?
When will you hold your pre-bid meeting in Miller?
Where?
Lake Street. That's Friday, you be.
Friday, 1 p.m. 1 p.m. pre-con here at the Gary Sanitary District.
Here?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Tucker.
Thank you.
Our next information update will come from Robinson Engineering, and that will be from Mr. Ron Smith.
Good afternoon, board members. Ron Smith with Robinson Engineering. Just a couple updates for you. The Clark Road project, the contractor, Walsh & Kelly, is now putting down the intermittent binder on the north section of the project. That's the South Shore Railroad tracks to Airport Road. Once that's completed, they will put the final surface on, landscape, and the thermoplastic pavement marking. So we hope to wrap that project up within the upcoming weeks, I would say probably hopefully by the end of the month. The Forest Avenue and Locust project. We're meeting with Executive Director Dan Bakari on Wednesday to go over the pre-final design of that project and the Warren Street sanitary sewer feasibility study that'll be completed by the end of this month. I will entertain any questions by the directors at this time.
Any questions for Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Trying to think of it. Okay, the Clark Road
Yes.
area, Phase 1,
Yes.
paving being complete on
The
that?
paving has not been completed. What are they doing right now is they're putting the intermediate binder in between the South Shore Railroad track and also Airport Road. They're actually out there right now. I took a drive by there this morning. Once that's done, they have to put the final surface on all of it. That would be from Fifth Avenue all the way to Airport Road. So you should see paving on that roadway all this week.
Right off of Fifth Avenue,
Yes.
turning into going north.
Yes.
There's an avenue, kind of a concrete type.
There's a small concrete island that's supposed to have a sign on there. No, that's supposed to be there. It's to narrow the road, and a sign is going to be put right there, and some kind of reflective detectors so you can see that turning. That is to not allow trucks to enter that route, that roadway. So that's what that is what that's for.
It's going to be a headache later on.
It's going to be a headache later on?
To me, it does.
Okay. Well, I'll go out there with Executive Director Dan Bakari, and we'll take a look at it. We'll take another look at it, so.
You're talking about cleaning snow and et cetera, and other stuff.
Yeah, if you
Talking
remember,
about getting
one of the
hit and
primary
chipped
goals
and
of
stuff like
this
that.
project was to inhibit tractor-trailer traffic through 4th to 5th. That is a pedestrian-friendly zone. There's a commuter train station along that corridor. The dedicated truck route was the other improvement that the commissioners made at 4th and Bigger. So that's the nice.
Does the steel try to go down that road?
They physically will not be able to go down Clark Road in that section.
With that particular avenue in there?
Correct.
Okay, we'll see.
But we'll take another look at it.
So I'll bring it up, because to me, it gets look like it's something that's going to be a headache later on.
Okay, yeah, it's going to be a sign and stuff right there, so you'll be able to see it.
Okay. We'll take your judgment on that.
Thank you very much.
Anything else for Mr. Smith?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next on our agenda comes discussion. That's discussion amongst the board over any topic the board wishes to discuss. Is there anything a board member wishes to discuss at this time? Hearing none, we'll go along to request to speak. Ms. Lee, are there any requests to speak?
No, sir.
With no request to speak, the next item on our agenda is adjournment. What is the pleasure